You're watching Nostalgia with me, Squeak.
Hello, friends, family, loved ones. I'm Squeak, and welcome back to another episode of that one internet piece thing I do where I watch the first 10 episodes of a show I vaguely remember from my youth, recap it, review it, and rate if it stood the test of time against my newer, more mature, regal, and awesome adult brain. What's the show being dissected today? Oh boy, if it ain't Static Shock. So, here's the 411 on good old Static Shock. This show is from the year 2000. It follows the daily life of our young protagonist, Virgil Hawkins. Now, Virgil is a normal teen. He lives with his dad and sister and goes to public school. He's smart and really good at things like math and science. He's funny and spends all of his free time with his best bud, Richie. Now, things get a little more interesting and complicated after a series of events I absolutely did not remember or expect led to Virgil becoming a metahuman. He decides to use his powers for good and becomes the teen heartthrob hero Static.
The name's Static. I put a shock to your system. Good line.
Not Static Shock, that's the name of the show. His hero name is just Static. I was confused for like the first 5 episodes before I finally realized I was being a big old idiot. There's some really cool things I like about this show. A lot of times the show makes real life references that I absolutely did not expect.
Maybe a certain superhero can raise the Titanic.
Also, Phil LaMarr, the voice of Virgil, has some sick credits like Wilt from Foster's Home, Hermes from Futurama, Samurai Jack, and most importantly, Dracula from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Well, I guess we're walking back.
Dracula getting a tangle feeling.
Also, my editor with his super sonar ears pinpointed that the guy who voiced Hot Streak also voiced our favorite e-boy, Jack Spicer from Shaolin Showdown.
What do I, Jack Spicer, evil genius, get out of this?
He's also voiced a lot of characters over the years, but I really want to point out that the voice actor Danny Cooksey is Stoop Kid from Hey Arnold. Okay, one last voice actor, and then I'll be done talking about it. Promise. Richie is voiced by Jason Marsden, aka Max Goof, Haku from the English dub of Spirited Away, and Chester McBadbad. And if you don't think those are some sick characters, then you're lame and I don't want to be your friend no more. Now, let's get on to the review. This show is like Uncanny Valley. The art was outdated by even the standards of when it came out, and so was the dialogue.
Mutant electromagnetic powers and called himself Static.
Mutant? That's degrading. You got a better word? I kinda like metahuman. Catchy.
When I first started watching, I legitimately thought to myself, is this how people spoke back in the day? But luckily, I'm just too young to remember it. And no, absolutely not. A common criticism, even in the year 2000, was that the dialogue was super dated, so the conversations were basically Shakespearean.
Catchy.
But honestly, after a while, I stopped noticing how bad the dialogue was, and it started becoming kind of charming and nostalgic. But I will never stand by the artistic choice of how they decided to dress my mans in like a red and yellow shirt with a blue collar and red pants, but they're a different shade of red from the shirt.
Alright, now this is just embarrassing.
But I will forgive the cheesy talks. We talked about the points I didn't like so much, so now let's talk about the parts I did. This show is real and shows some real struggles that I'm not used to seeing in cartoons, especially modern day. They tackle some heavy themes like racism, bullying, peer pressure, and gang violence, and all these things directly impact Virgil. The only thing they shied away from it was how Richie is canonly gay. This show very much is about a teen who just happens to be a superhero instead of a superhero who just happens to be a teen. Those two may sound similar, but I promise it's vastly different. Virgil being a teenager and the struggles that come along with it are thoroughly ingrained in his character. I think people forget how hard being a teenager can be. It's a time where you're expected to be old enough to deal with problems, but you're still so young that a lot of adults don't take you and your problems seriously. I remember talking to teachers in high school about the difficulties I was having, and them brushing me off being like, you have to be used to doing hard work because in college your teachers won't give you a break. I went to college, and one day I woke up and read the news. It stressed me out, and I emailed my professor exactly that I was stressed because I read the news and I wouldn't be coming to class. She sent me back an email that basically said, cool, I marked you present, take care of yourself. I think this show is really good at making people, especially young people, feel heard and seen. It shows that they have actual problems besides who to take to prom, and David from 4th period Kim doesn't shower. I think more shows should embrace this type of narrative storytelling. Embrace reality. I promise the youths can take it. And I'm not saying to do this every show, but definitely make sure it's present, you know? This show kind of reminds me of As Told by Ginger, for anyone who remembers that. It came out the same year, and I think that kind of highlights how cartoons have been shying away from shows like that in order to bring us more bright colors and laughing to make us forget about our problems for 20 minutes instead of tackling them head on and showing us it'll be okay. And I think that's sad, because I want both options. So, that's enough ranting and raving. I'm gonna give this show an 8. It's not perfect, but I think it's important nonetheless, and I very much enjoyed it. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!